And now, the general weather around Alaska. Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chant, coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Wednesday, November 29th, 2023. And if you'd like more in the way of additional weather information on top of what you get in this YouTube broadcast, you can go to weather.gov. That is the National Weather Service's online presence. It'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S. You point and click anywhere on this map, as well as these side maps of Hawaii and Alaska. It'll bring up a local forecast for any location, including any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories. Quick check of the map this Wednesday afternoon. We have freeze warnings in effect for southern Georgia, northern Florida, where temperatures are going to get down around 30 degrees come Thursday morning. Further to the west, we have winter weather advisories here and through areas of the Intermountain West, as well as air quality alerts. And as we go take a look at what's coming up here in Alaska, we have a couple of winter weather advisories that are currently in effect through this evening early on Thursday. First one up there around Turnagain Pass on Seward Highway between Anchorage and Seward. And then also the Haines-Kluwan area could pick up 3 to 5 inches of snow this evening through early Thursday morning. The sun's been very active lately, and over the past few days, it's hurled a few different stronger solar flares that could trigger a strong geomagnetic storm and visible aurora well down into mid-latitudes here at some point tomorrow, November 30th, into December 1st. And then we are expecting a stronger area of low pressure to move up into the Gulf early next week that could bring impacts of some strong winds and heavier precipitation to the Panhandle and Gulf Coast. And once that system kind of sits in that area, we're going to see a push of Arctic air coming out of eastern Russia. And that Arctic air will be crossing the Bering Sea around this time next week. That could lead to much colder temperatures later next week and next weekend. But before then, we are going to see an overall cooling trend closer to normal temperatures here across much of the mainland as we go through this upcoming weekend. Quick check of a few of the webcams this afternoon. Unalakleet showing some thin low clouds at temperature at 19 degrees. And I believe that in the shot there is the waning gibbous moon. And then over here in Homer, there was for a time in the afternoon, earlier this afternoon, breezy conditions with some light rain and snow mixed, a temperature at 39 degrees. And as I mentioned, we have a couple of winter weather advisories that are in effect. Winter weather advisory till 9 p.m. this Wednesday evening for Turnagain Arm Pass. Unfortunately, we have to highlight this whole area because it's a forecast zone, but it's specifically that area between Girdwood and Seward. Turnagain Pass, the 511 Alaska road cams show as much as 8 to 12 inches of wet snow has fallen at that pass and will continue to do so into early evening. And then across the northern Panhandle at Haines-Kluwan, 3 to 5 inches of snow could fall there as we go through this evening and early Thursday morning. Otherwise, the rest of the state, relatively quiet weather for this time of year. Full moon occurred this past Monday, and we are now waning gibbous moon phase. A series, though, of Earth-directed CMEs could trigger a stronger G3 geomagnetic storm here, as well as visible aurora down across the mid-latitudes into the lower 48 tomorrow, Thursday, into Friday, December 1st. So if you have clear skies, your location, keep your eyes peeled here next few nights, because it's looking like maybe Thursday night would be the greater likelihood of being able to see something here. But again, worth paying attention to, because this has been one of the stronger Earth-directed flares we've seen in a while. Now, looking at satellite imagery, we have a low sitting here in the western Gulf that's responsible for the heavier snow there at Turnagain Arm Pass. We also have a front that's pushing up into the Panhandle. The secluded front will weaken, but it's going to provide some rain and snow to areas of the Panhandle and breezy conditions. Out to the west, there is a series of low pressures along this frontal boundary, and they will continue to be at play here through the end of the week. So here's the low this Wednesday afternoon, and not a whole lot going on across the interior. Weak ridge of high pressure up through the middle upper Yukon Valley back into eastern Russia, and then a couple of lows here, one just north of the Aleutians, and another one extending back further west. And late tonight into early Thursday, we have the low still in the western Gulf with this occluded front that'll gradually be weakening, and then another frontal band with a few different low pressure centers along it. And central pressure of this one here, southwest of the Pribilof Islands and north of the central Aleutians, is a fairly compact little low, but it's not going to have too much of an impact on any land area. By Thursday afternoon, the one low that was out over here just kind of washes out, and then another one kind of takes shape with that one low there just west-southwest of St. Paul, and another one back out toward the western Aleutians, a couple of weak troughs along the west side of the state. And then by the time we get into Friday, we find a low that's out here over the lower Gulf, and a couple of lows back out here into the lower Bering Sea. Again, nothing of special note, but by the time we do go through the weekend, overall temperatures are going to cool a bit here across the mainland. It's going to turn a little cooler, closer to normal temperatures as we begin the very beginning there of December. But then early next week, there's going to be a stronger low come out of the North Pacific and move up into the Gulf, and that'll do its thing, bringing more wind and perhaps some moderate to heavy precipitation along the Gulf Coast and Panhandle. As that thing's churning, there's going to be Arctic air beginning to head southeastward out of Siberia and crossing the Bering Sea a week from now, and eventually that colder air will spread across the Aleutians, eastern half of the Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula, and pushing up into the west side and southwestern parts of the state. So we're going to see an overall colder trend toward temperatures here, especially later next week and by next weekend. In the meantime, though, temperatures are generally above freezing southern Panhandle, a little below freezing in the north. Again, that winter weather advisory into early Thursday morning for Haines and Kluon, where 3 to 5 inches of snow may fall. We find areas Anchorage Bowl northward generally below freezing, western Kenai, but the snows that were along this area of western Prince William Sound, eastern Kenai will begin to gradually diminish then as we go through tonight. Temperatures Thursday afternoon, we expect readings around or a bit above freezing again in the Anchorage Bowl. And back across the Panhandle, we expect some 40s, maybe middle 40s there. Klawak and Craig up towards Sitka. And then Friday morning lows should be a bit colder, 2 above Glen Allen in the Copper River Basin. Western Kenai, Anchorage Bowl getting back down into the 20s, still above freezing, especially southern and outer portions of the Panhandle. And high temperatures Friday afternoon, still back up around or above 40 here in the southern Panhandle. But temperatures will likely slip below freezing, and this trend will be the case here going into the weekend over the south central interior. Not as mild as this past week. Farther north, we find temperatures. Some areas are going to be in the single digits above and below zero. One of the colder spots may be Northway at 7 below, parts of the North Slope. Otherwise, a lot of single digits and lower teens. Temperatures may still get back up, though, lower mid-20s around the coastlines of the Seward Peninsula, Norton Sound, near 20-ish Fairbanks toward Delta Junction, and then Friday morning lows a little bit colder, a little more in the way of 0 to maybe some 10 below readings, or again around Northway, one of the normally cold spots. Yukon Flats could be a bit colder. And then Friday afternoon, high temperatures, single digits above 0, parts of the Yukon Flats, and they're around Northway. Back out toward the Seward Peninsula, temperatures a couple few degrees cooler, and maybe only around or just above 20 there at Nome, Shishmaref. And then as we look at the central interior here of the southwest, lows in the lower teens, above freezing out across the Aleutians. For Thursday afternoon, we still expect some readings, as would be the case, lower 40s along the southern portion of the Alaska Peninsula and Aleutians. Daytime highs only around 20, Bethel on up toward and west there of McGrath. And then temperatures Friday morning, some areas could be down around or just below 10 degrees in the southwest interior, but still above freezing, Dutch Harbor westward. And highs Friday afternoon, temperatures upper teens, lower 20s here in the southwest interior, 20s along the coastline, maybe 30-ish or so. King salmon, and then areas still in the 40s, lower 40s along the Alaska Peninsula and Aleutians. So here's a hint of that colder air I alluded to here. That time frame, especially around and after December 5th, about a week from now, there's going to be a pretty good push of Arctic air coming in out of Siberia, crossing eastern Russia into the Bering Sea. By this time, Wednesday of next week, there'll be a strong cold front pushing across the Bering Sea, and that front's going to move through the Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula, and then when it hits the Gulf, it's probably going to spin up some sort of low in this position. That could be interesting in itself. But in the meantime, as we go through that period, we're going to see colder temperatures settle in through this part, especially centered on the southwestern mainland and the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, as we go through the latter part of next week into the following weekend.